So go ahead, Sherry, it's on you.
Thank you, Jackie. You are a tireless and fearless leader amidst some incredibly challenging circumstances to step into. Was this like week 2 for you? And man, so just to dovetail real quick on what Mayor Ballant was just saying about the monitoring list, since I know some of you might have questions, and that's not what I'm here to talk about, but we did fall off the monitoring list. Placer County was taken off the list today. This was our third day of the state watching our data. And I'm not a doctor, nor would I ever want to be one. So I can tell you the metrics and the matrix of metrics that are used by the state to determine when counties go on and come off of the monitoring list is mind-boggling. So it's not just about cases, and it's not just about hospitalization rates. It's a whole myriad of data points. And so we had been being watched for 3 days, and today is day 3, which allows the county to officially go off because we are now under multiple thresholds. So what does that mean? And I really want to say this with the most positive way possible. It doesn't mean anything, unfortunately. So our business sectors, which per the July 13th order, were forced to close, if you all were following along, those included hair and nail salons, our personal services sectors, those additional closures on top of the statewide closures that included indoor dining and bars and many other things. Those July 13th orders remain in effect. So this monitoring list change does not change, unfortunately for the moment, how those business sectors can or cannot resume normal operations. And to Daniel's point, 14 days is a number that has been thrown out for schools. If we were to remain off the monitoring list for 14 days, it would allow our schools to have the opportunity to provide on-campus learning. But until we get permission from the state for business sectors to reopen, we remain closed. And so I want to be really clear. My phone's been blowing up all day, basically since yesterday, since word got out. So it's a very difficult and challenging time. The good news here is that we are going in the right direction. So getting off the monitoring list is a good thing, even if it means that nothing changes today for our business community. We're going in the right direction. So hang tight. And that's all I'll say about the monitoring list. So Placer Shares is a program that the Placer County Board of Supervisors at their July 28th meeting elected to take a portion of the CARES Act funding. Now, every city, as well as Placer County, is due to receive an allocation of that CARES Act funding from the federal government through the state and down into the jurisdictions to offset COVID expense related costs that were unanticipated in each of our budgets. So with the $40+ million that the county expects to receive, we have not yet received our funding. The Board of Supervisors took action at the July 28th meeting, to earmark $8 million of that 40 to set up a small business and nonprofit grant program. So not a loan program. If you were following a lot of the CARES Act dollars, these were the PPP, that's a loan. And obviously, if you're a business in crisis, I don't need to tell you the last thing you need right now is more debt. And so our board was really clear. They wanted this to be a grant program, not a loan program that you would have to perform. So we set about, since that date, establishing priorities of what industry sectors would be eligible, which would not be eligible. The board further took action to say, okay, of that $8 million, we'd like to set aside 7 for our small businesses. But we'd also like to recognize that the safety net services that our nonprofit organizations provide, particularly when the economy is in crises, the demand on our safety net services like food and shelter and childcare and healthcare, those demands increase. So our nonprofits get taxed often when the economy is in jeopardy. So as businesses collapse, as folks get laid off and lose their jobs, they need to avail themselves of some of those important programs that our nonprofits offer. So there was a recognition from our board to say, yeah, we'll set aside 7 for our small businesses, but we'd also like to provide some infusion to our nonprofits, particularly the 501c6s that were not eligible for funding under the PPP program. So that includes most of our chambers, including you, Auburn. And so we want to also prop up our business organizations that represent all of many of you as well. The application window for the Placer Shares program, which is what this CARES Act program was anointed to be, because Placer County is sharing a portion of their CARES Act funding, which they do not need to do. The application window opens Tuesday, so that's August 25th. And it will remain open for 2 full weeks. So it closes on the evening of September 7th. The reason I want to emphasize this is we saw with the some of the initial CARES Act funding, if any of you tried to apply for the EIDL loans early on, the system crashed, and it didn't just crash once, it crashed multiple times. So we're trying to avoid that and encourage folks who intend to apply either for the business or the nonprofit program to go in right now, and I can put the website in the chat, to go in and start familiarizing yourself with what you'll need to apply. So you'll need some pieces of financial information so that when the window opens on the 25th, you have 2 full weeks to pull your application together. We don't want everybody to go in on Tuesday and try to apply because we worry that that might jeopardize the system. The grants will range in size from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the size of your business, the number of employees that you have. What else can I say? The eligibility criteria, let me put in the chat right now, unless somebody can. Oh, you did that. Thank you, Jackie. So it's placer.ca.gov/share. So we're building out the site as we speak, but you'll see on the site already, if you can go there, we've got our frequently asked questions. We have a lot about the eligibility requirements. We have a lot about the priority matrix. So how did we land on who's eligible? We took a hard look at data. If you know me, you know I'm kind of a data geek. Anecdotes are great. We all know somebody who's been impacted right now. We all either have a friend or a family member who is living this crisis, but we wanted to make sure we were using good data in honing in on who could be eligible for funding, recognizing that we have over 16,000 businesses here in Placer County. Certainly $8 million is a lot of money, but it can't fund 16,000 businesses. So we had to take a real hard look at who was impacted greatest. And we used national data and state data and regional data. We used who closed first, which sectors were forced to close earliest, and who was forced to stay closed the longest. So we know, and you all know this, our personal service sector, they closed early. They were one of the last to open, and they were allowed to open for about 2.5 weeks before that July 13th order came down and shut down all of our hair salons and nail salons and massage and tattoo. And so we know they were very hard hit. We obviously also know that indoor dining has been devastated. And even those who have been able to pivot and offer takeout and outside dining, they're not meeting that threshold that they need. So you'll see in our priority matrix a list of sectors that are going to be that first tranche of funding. They'll be given the highest priority as we rank these applications that come in. And then there's a second tier, a second level of priority, that if we exhaust the funding for those applications that come in representing the sectors in priority 1, then we'll look at priority 2. Let's see, what else did I want to say? And then I'll open it up for questions. Let me talk about our partnerships real quick. I have a really small staff, and we're pretty busy right now because if you're not talking about COVID, you're talking about the economy. So we recognized early on it would be really challenging for us to administer this program in-house. And not only that, we have really great relationships and partnerships with the Sierra Business Council, with the Placer Community Foundation, and with the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. So it was the decision that we should really outsource the administration of this program for lots of reasons. They know the community, they know the businesses, they know the nonprofits. And so our contract is with the Sierra Business Council. And then we have some subcontracts with each of the 2 community foundations to provide the support for the nonprofit applications that we expect to receive. For the business assistance piece, if you get in and you qualify and your application is accepted, it'll go into a pot, and there'll be a lottery from all of the research that we could do for other communities that have done a program like this seem to be the most equitable way to ensure an even playing field. The nonprofit applications will be evaluated, each and every one will be evaluated by one of the community foundations. So 8 million is a lot of money, but we have businesses that are in absolute crises, and we recognize that not everyone will get funded. And so we'll do our best to look at those that really are in the greatest need and to provide hopefully enough of a bridge until those businesses can hopefully come back to life. But I will tell you, this July 13th order, well, I don't need to tell you, you're the right audience. This was a double whammy, and we know for sure a scary percentage will not reopen. And I know that you know in your community who some of those folks are. And so with that, I'll be quiet and I'll open it up to any questions or comments, input. I'm really open to making sure this program reaches every corner of the county. We want to make sure that we're reaching businesses who might not necessarily have a relationship with the chamber or a downtown association. We're providing collateral in both Spanish and English. We want to make sure that you, as an extension of voice piece of the county, are talking to your friends and family in the hopes that they are eligible and they will apply come the application window. Now I'll shut up. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question. My name is Jenny, and I am the CEO of Stand Up Faster. So we are a nonprofit serving survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and sex trafficking. But really the part of our agency that has been hit hardest is our thrift store, because it's had to be closed for a lot of times, and our rent is $5,000 a month. And our survivors shop for free, and that's really how we keep them clothed in, you know, when they're escaping in the middle of the night with nothing, then they go there and shop for all the stuff that they need. So my question is, would we, if the thrift store is really where our issue is that something like that, businesses that have like kind of crossover between nonprofit and business, our nonprofit is way above the income guidelines for business, but not our thrift store, and which one is more likely to be approved, business or nonprofit? You know, I know the business pot is a lot larger, and so could we even apply for the thrift store as part of a business, or would we have to be nonprofit and apply that way? But so I don't know.
Yeah, I see your conundrum, Jenny. That is a really good question. The hotline, I'm going to kick this one because I think you want to be very strategic, and it sounds like you've already thought this through. Part of it depends on how you're organized legally. You know, if you're a 501c3, C6 versus an LLC or some other corporation. And I think for my own assurance, I would want you to talk to one of our hotline people. And okay. So I'm looking at the site right now. I don't see it yet, but it will be up unless somebody is seeing something I'm not seeing. That would be a great question for our hotline folks, okay, because they are the Sierra Business Council staff. So they're really familiar with kind of the, not just the strategy of our program, but the kind of the legal entity under which you operate these various program elements. I mean, my gut would say you should apply under the nonprofit, but you're right, because you operate this retail establishment that's been very hard hit. If you were just a standalone shop, on Main Street, USA, I would say, oh my gosh, absolutely, you were closed and you know, you were impacted. But you have a very unique, and I'm familiar with Stand Up Placer, and you guys do great work. So
Yeah.
I think that would be definitely a question to noodle on with our hotline experts. And I can put in the chat, my contact information, and you and I can follow up offline about that, if that
Thank you.
works.
Appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
Sherry, this is Barbara Goodson from the State Theater. And we're in the same boat, but kind of flipped, where we're a business and we've been shut down this entire time, but we are also a nonprofit. But we're not a social service nonprofit. Sherry, you're muted.
Hi, sorry. I'm wondering if we could screen share the Shares website real quick.
Oh,
Because you-
I can get it. I just wanted to know if we should do the same thing as Stand Up Placer.
Yeah, you are the same, but you're organized as a C3?
3.
Yeah. And you operate the theater under which. That one I feel like, you know, I don't know. I think it probably is much the same answer. And to be fair, if you're a 501c3 and you don't offer safety net services, or you're not a business organization, it doesn't disqualify you. It just maybe ranks you a little lower, right? So I do agree you'll want to be strategic. But if the portal were open right now and you were able to go in and try to answer, there's going to be some preliminary screening questions come the 25th, and it's going to ask you to tell how you're organized, and the system will sort you. So the system will know, based on the answers to these screening questions, what bucket you go into. And depending on which bucket you fall into, you'll enter into the application. Not necessarily you'll enter from the county's website, but it'll take you directly out either to the Sierra Business Council if it determines you're a business, or to one of the 2 community foundations websites if it determines that's where you need to be. So the system will take care of it. But I think for both you and Jenny's questions, it would be a really good conversation to have with one of our hotline specialists, since it isn't always black and white, right? So
Thanks.
I didn't help you, Barbara.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Hi, this is Becky Jacobs. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, this is Becky Jacobs. I own a salon here in Auburn. I'm sure you've heard about all the salons. But anyway, I own Bricks the Salon here in Auburn. And I'm not really sure how I would or would not qualify. Obviously, I've been closed over 5 months. I'm a sole proprietor. I do not have employees because I have independent contractors. However, my mortgage payment, insurance, security, property taxes, you name it, has continued to roll. So I'm, thousands a month in debt with no income. I'm not sure how I would apply. A lot of times it seems like all these different grants and things that are out there are if you have employees. I do not, but my bills didn't go away, or my loss of money didn't go away. That was
You're
it.
absolutely, that's a great question, Becky, but you are an employee, so you would qualify. And salons are in our high priority, our top priority sector. So you would very much qualify. I would encourage you to take a look at the website now, get your financials together that you'll need to upload when the application portal goes live on Tuesday, but you absolutely would be eligible.
And then my other thing is I didn't get it. Did you say placer.ca.gov/shares? Was that the site?
Placer, it's in the chat right now if you're able to look at the computer. It's placer.ca.gov/shares.
Okay, that's what I had. Okay.
Did you
And the
get
hotline number is also in there.
Oh, great.
I'm not seeing it. I just see Sherry, but I don't see the rest of, I'm just doing it from.
Oh,
Could you post that again, please, Sherry?
I didn't post it. I think Jackie did.
Okay.
Who posted that?
I did.
Could we
You're on
see
it.
that? please?
It's back in there. Gail, I can also
Okay.
email it to you.
Okay, placer.ca.gov/shares. I see it now. Thank you.
Gail, I can shoot you an email with the link and the phone number.
Okay, thank you.
Hi,
I-
Jackie. The same thing too with you, and just get that share and download that.
Sure, Eric, I'd be happy to.
So I'm just down the block from you. So I'm gonna leave you folks now, but I got basic information for D-Wood and Joss House, and maybe my business too.
What would be a phone number I would call if I needed assistance?
I'll put that in there too, Gail.
Okay.
But if anybody else needs the hotline number, it's in there as well, in the chat.
So the sole proprietors are going to be able to apply for this.
Well, 1 to 9 employees, and if you own the business, you are employee 1.
Okay, thank you.
And the hotline, I think, is gone live today. So if that's in the chat, that's really the best number for kind of a unique situation, you know, like Jenny and Barbara brought up, where there's some nuances with how your operation or your business is organized. I want to make sure that you get the best information. I'm just kind of I got to administer the program, but thankfully we have really good experts to work one-on-one, because we recognize it's not clear. I saw in the chat somebody asked about fitness. And again, if you go to the site, I think there's the priority matrix's little icon. In that, you'll see the priority 1 matrix includes health, fitness, and beauty. So there's a lot glumped into there. Doesn't necessarily align with how the governor opened and closed those sectors, but for the purposes of the industries that were the hardest hit, we aggregated that sector into this health, fitness, and beauty. So salons, fitness, which is gyms, yoga studios, personal trainers, karate studios, there's, you know, Pilates, of course, all of our spas, personal services that currently are not able to be open. Those are all in there as well. What else, you guys? Oops, sorry, I'm making noise here.
Well, just many thanks. Many thanks.
Hi, I'm Eden Rock. I'm with Placer Land Trust. I really want to echo those thanks. It's kudos for getting a grant program up and running so quickly to us. Really appreciate it. I put a couple questions in the chat box. One was, how are safety services defined for nonprofits? And then the second is, if you, I'm more than happy to help get the word out. This is a really important assist. And so if you have any social media tools or anything else that you've developed beyond us, like putting out the website, you can share that. I'd be happy to do so.
We shared at a meeting just before this one that Jackie was on, a box link that I'm happy to offer to you. And in that, it's like a Dropbox, we have collateral that our team has developed so for digital distribution. In addition, we sent out over 20,000 hard postcards yesterday. So we took business license lists of every single business in the cities as well as in the unincorporated area. We generated 20,000 postcards that went out actually on Monday. So we understand people are receiving them today, in addition to the social media collateral. So we can share that also, where we've got digital flyers and digital postcards. If you have electronic newsletters that you all have members that look at, we're happy to share that with you as well. Eden, you had a question about the nonprofits. Let me look back here.
Yeah, just for the just how the safety net services are defined. We of course we protect land for current and future, so it's not an urgent. I mean, you know, we were in an essential during the, but consider it very essential to well-being and health of the entire economy. But just kind of curious about, you know, what the definition has been put around this for this purpose.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if we've loaded that nonprofit eligibility criteria. It looks like we did update that. And that's, if you're on our page, Eden, it's under the eligibility requirements. Toward the bottom of the page, there's a section that relates to nonprofits. It really focuses on which are ineligible nonprofits.
Right.
So ineligible are churches, religious, private schools, sports clubs, service clubs, etc. So that does not make you ineligible in of itself. Our nonprofit administrators, so the Placer Community Foundation and Tahoe Truckee, will be evaluating each of those and ranking them against one another. So I can't tell you how you'll fall ranking, but I can tell you should apply for sure. You know, err on the side of,
Yes, we will.
it just depends on how many people apply, right? And,
Sure,
and
of course.
because there is much less, as you noted, set aside for nonprofits, we do expect that to be competitive, but to be evaluated based on who else applies. You know, we did a lot of research early on, back in April and May. The larger counties across the state, so counties of 500,000 or greater in population, received their CARES Act funding in one tranche back in April. So they've had their money for a while. And those larger counties did set up, in certain instances, these grant and nonprofit programs, business and nonprofit grant programs. And we talked to a lot of them about what worked, what didn't work, how did it play out? And we found some interesting things. Ventura County, for example, had earmarked and set aside of their X million that they were going to allocate to business assistance. They had set aside 20% or something for minority and women-owned businesses. And even though they had done a very robust outreach strategy, they found that at the end, they didn't get enough applications to spend that earmarked allocation. So they had to revamp the whole program. So it's difficult until you see who applies and how much is set aside for the nonprofits and how much we set aside for the businesses. It'll be difficult for me to say whether or not the land trust would qualify, because I think it just depends on who else applies at this juncture. So we don't know. But again, the hotline, even if it's one of those where anyone's on the fence about whether even they should take the time to apply, call the hotline and they might be able to give you some more insight than I would at this point too, especially on that nonprofit side. So there are people that are more versed at the nonprofit. I'm more versed at the business side.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
And I'm looking for some more answers as we speak. So if you have any other questions, keep asking. You've got the hotline. I will say the board was very clear that of its 40 million that we expect to receive, again, we have not received our funding. We received just a very small first allocation. The Board of Supervisors was really clear that of the 32 that's been allocated to reimburse the county for its COVID-related expenses, if come the beginning of our second quarter, our quarter closes on September 30th, if come October, we have not expended down for our own use that 32 million, the board has a keen interest in going out for another round of funding. So reapportioning and restocking this 8 million potentially with some additional funds. So while that's not set in stone, that is absolutely a possibility. And then I will also want to touch on what happened yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting. They took action to stand up a program to provide assistance to our restaurants. So we knew very early on during the first set of closures that our restaurants were still going to have to pay their annual environmental health inspection fee. It's an annual fee. It ranges, depending on the complexity of your operation, anywhere from $800 to $1,200. And so we were hearing very early on that restaurants that were completely closed were still getting assessed this inspection fee. So the board took action yesterday to stand up a grant program separate from shares, but sort of related, and more information's coming out today, so that restaurants can apply for and be reimbursed up to the amount of that inspection fee if they've already paid it for 2020. And so that's yet another demonstration, I think, that the board is very concerned about the health and well-being of our small businesses, particularly if you're not able to operate and you get this, fee that comes down. It's almost like you're already down on the ground. You don't need to be hit again. So that program, look for that. I think they're calling it Placer Shares Eat and Drink. That'll be coming out in the next couple of days. Spread the word to your restaurant friends that that's another opportunity. Doesn't disqualify them from applying for the main Placer Shares grant program. They should do that also. This program, the Eat and Drink program, is really to make them whole for those fees that many, here we are, August, have already paid for the year 2020, and yet they've only been able to open a very small fraction of this calendar year to date. So I wanted to mention that too.
I'll put that in the chat too.
Becky,
Hi, this is Becky Jacobs again. I'm on the actual site that you're saying. What will, in the future, will the application come onto this site where I would be able to fill out or download the application? How is it going to work?
Yes, Becky, great question. So the application's not up there yet because it's not live.
Okay.
And so that's why we're trying to make sure people are aware it's coming. It's sort of a double-edged sword. We built the landing page, but immediately people were looking for the application. So it'll be live at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. In the meantime,
August 25th?
Correct.
Okay.
But again, not a rush. We don't want to crash the system, but
Right.
you'll be able to actually go in and answer those screening questions,
Okay.
and the system will dump you or not
Right.
into the right bucket. And if you are, deemed eligible for one or the other program, it'll actually take you out to the external sites of either the Sierra Business Council or one of the two community foundations, depending on where you're located. So for folks on this call, and you're a nonprofit, chances are yours would go through the Placer Community Foundation. You're not going to end up in the Tahoe Truckee portal unless you do a large part of your business or the clients that you serve are primarily up the hill and you're just located, here in Auburn.
Yeah, I'm here in the sweet little town of Auburn.
It is a
Okay,
sweet-
thank you.
Oops. What else, you guys?
Does anybody need hand sanitizer
While we're here,
while we're here?
we are drowning in hand sanitizer. Let me tell you what happened. We had an opportunity to work with Cal OES, which I know many of you availed yourself of the first shipment of PPE that we received for our businesses, our small businesses. Then we worked with a third party company to take delivery of a second very large shipment of PPE with some less strings, but somewhere in the process of the first and second shipment, we ended up with a surplus of hand sanitizer. And I cannot even tell you how much hand sanitizer we have in 3 locations right now, in Roseville, Auburn, and Truckee. So we were on a call just a little bit ago talking about ways to get this out into the community, separate and apart from the business PPE that we've been working with Jackie and with Bob to get out to the businesses. So if you have a need, if you know of particularly nonprofits that are providing some of those safety net services in your community, Jackie and I can work together, and I can arrange to have almost as much PPE as you could imagine. These are 16-ounce bottles. So They're not the little ones, but they're not the big gallon ones that we had early on. And I don't know if you've heard, but COVID's not going away anytime soon. And we want to get this product out into the hands of people that need it. I was in CVS yesterday online and I thought, oh, I'll grab a bottle at my house. I'm running low on my house. And I was a little bit sticker shocked to see it was $5 for a little tiny bottle. And I thought, there are a lot of folks out there. That's a big expense right now. So work with Jackie. We'll get hand sanitizer out to the organizations in the Auburn community that could really use them. We certainly have enough. Thank you.
I talked to Boys and Girls Club in between calls, and they are willing to take as much as we can give them. So
Fantastic. That's great. We'll get them. We'll get them a pallet. No.
and I almost asked if you wanted a pallet.
Yeah,
Seriously,
if you have extra, I would take some in the salon. We were trying to have it available at each station. So as a guest came in, we would have them do that before and after a service. So if you have some, I could figure out how to pick it up. Because, yeah, I don't think this COVID thing's going away, ladies.
Becky, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm having trouble finding where this chat box is everyone's talking about. I'm on my iPhone, so maybe I'm just limited.
I don't know iPhones. I have an Android. So
Yeah, I'm not. I see everybody's picture.
Shoot, you muted yourself.
What'd you say?
You muted yourself.
Oh, okay.
But anybody with an iPhone can chime in. I don't know iPhones, unfortunately.
On the bottom, there's 3 dots. It says more. It pops up a little list of things. One of them is the chat.
Find it, Becky. If anybody wants it, it's just Jackie, JACKIE @auburnchamber.net. Feel free to email me and I can help you with anything that you need and get you the contact information you need. We're just here to help you guys and figure out how to make it through this COVID tornado. But if there's no more questions, I really want to thank Sherry for coming on and helping us. I want to thank everyone for coming too. I think we're going to try and do another one of these. So if you know anyone that's in need of question and answer periods, we're going to try and do another one of these probably after the application process starts, since it isn't a race to get the application done. Please spread the word. It's not a race. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. And again, if you have any questions, let me put my contact information in the chat. I'm happy to talk to you offline and connect you directly to folks at either one of the Placer Community Foundations or one of the community foundations or at the Sierra Business Council. Sorry. I can't type and talk. It's terrible. Let's see. Hold on. And again, if you need just general PPE, work with Jackie. We do have masks. If you're a small business under 50 employees, we do have plenty of masks and hand sanitizer. The hand sanitizer we were referring to is sort of extra above and beyond. But if you, for your own small business needs, you need, to provide masks and sanitizer for your staff as well as your customers. We have that too. We were fortunate to get those shipments from the state at no cost to the county. And so we want to, again, pass that along to our businesses. Nobody has this penciled in their budget right now. This is an expense that none of us could have anticipated. And it comes at a time where none of us have any extra money floating around. So PPE, Jackie's your go-to girl. Placer Shares, email me, and I will do my best to get you the answers that you need. Call the hotline, look for it, but don't apply. Look for the application to open. Have your financials kind of at the ready. take a look at the site and familiarize yourself about what you're going to actually need to upload. So you'll need ID, you'll need a W-9, you'll need some evidence that you are, in fact, you were in business prior to March 1st of this year. So you don't want to wait until, the night before the window closes and go, oh my gosh, I don't know where any of this stuff is. Because obviously businesses right now are a little bit preoccupied with bigger, more important things. So take your time. Application itself is not complicated. If you've ever done a loan, this is not crazy complicated, but you will have to upload a few pieces of information. So have those ready to go. Take your time and call the hotline, because even if you try to submit and it rejects it, that's really what the hotline is intended to kind of, they'd be able to see where you are and go, oh, this is what you need to do, and then help walk you through it on that kind of one-on-one basis. So we hope we're covering the bases. Spread the word. If you yourself are not eligible, but others that may be, please help us get the word out. We don't want anyone to come in a month from now and go, oh my gosh, I never heard about this. I could have really used $10,000. That could have saved my business. I mean, that's my worst nightmare. Those are the things that keep me up at night. So help us get this word out. And the chambers are a fantastic conduit of information into the community. So I appreciate Jackie's invite and leadership. And Mayor Berlant is he's tireless. And these are extraordinary times. And I got to say, these fires are just adding insult to injury for us all. And I don't even know why I have my blinds closed, because it's literally looks like Armageddon out the window. Does it not? I mean, it's just like brown outside right now. So, all right. Thank you for having me, Jackie.
Thanks, Sherry. I really appreciate you coming.
No worries. Email me, any of you, and then we can have a conversation offline. I'm happy to do that too. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Becky. Good luck, everybody. Barbara and Julie, I want to make sure you get the answers to those very unique organizational questions that you have, because I think you do want to be strategic so that you have the best chance of getting the money that is going to prop up the part of your operation that needs it most. And yeah, movie theaters, ooh, this is a tough one. It's very tough, Barbara. Okay, thank you all. Enjoy. Be safe, my friends.